In April, 399 homes came to the market in Guelph, and of those, only 142 of them sold. I want to talk about where the other 257 homes went. Because, as you know, that's where we're going to pull the data and the actual metrics of what the market is doing right now. In case we've never met before, my name is Varsha, and I help families make thoughtful decisions in changing market, whether it comes to buying or selling real estate in Guelph and the Greater Toronto Area. Let's get into these data points. I'm hopeful to actually give you the trajectory of where the market has been and maybe some of the signals as to where it's going right now, just to give us both some context. And we'll definitely touch on price. And as you know, without any context, the price doesn't actually matter. Take a look at the decade from 2015 to 2025. Guelph sold around 2,400 to 2,500 homes per year. And then 2021 hit. And that's when 2,743 units sold. That was the peak. Rock bottom interest rates, pandemic demand, as we know, and people fleeing the 416 because affordability increased, money was being handed out, work from home, everybody, let's move to lifestyle. All of those things were a reality, and some people have been able to maintain those choices while others haven't. Guelph absorbed a lot of that demand. And then, like every market that got a little bit ahead of itself, the correction arrived. 2022 brought interest rate hikes. 2023 was the toughest year in a decade. 1,627 units sold. What felt like the floor. 2024 and 2025 have really just been a game of trying to stabilize, hitting just over 1,700 units sold. And this feels kind of like we're crawling back at this point, like we're slowly trying to crawl back and find a new foundation. So when I look at April 2026 right now, I'm not comparing it to 2021. And that's why I wanted to give you this longer arc and this longer context, because 2021 is not a true comparison. And the market has been correcting. If I'm honest, the market has been correcting, and it is during these correctional periods that people have been successful in finding opportunity, including many of my buyers. So the April numbers, as we get into them, March was a healthy kind of market with transactions, people feeling that spring fling in the air. April has been interesting. I'll tell you, April definitely saw sales. We have the tale of two separate markets happening in Guelph right now. To the point that multiple offers in certain segments are very much a reality. However, other markets are crickets. Or I should say other segments. So let me zoom in a little bit, okay, January to April, and we're going to compare 2024, 2025, and now 2026. Unit sales year to date in April, so 571 for 2024, dropped to 512 in 2025. And now we're sitting at 443 for April 2026. Every year, fewer homes are trading hands. New listings, same window, okay? Just over 1,000 for April 2024. It rose to almost 1,200 in 2025. And in 2026, it's risen almost to 1,300. So supply is healthy, and that segment keeps climbing. Supply keeps increasing. Ooh, and let's talk about expired listings. My goodness. There was 71 in 2024. Okay, again, I'm just looking at that period of time, so January to April, okay? 71 in 2024, 117 in 2025, and for April, it's 187. These are homes that hit the market, ended up sitting, and did not sell. And yes, there's a variety of reasons why that could happen. However, it's important that we look at these expired numbers because they're telling you what is getting absorbed and what isn't. The average price for year to date was sitting at $790,000 or just over $790,000 for 2024, just over $783,000 for 2025, and for 2026, sitting at $741,000. Okay, give or take. The slope is gradual, however, it is consistent. And I wanted to offer this 3-year view because I think in a lot of our minds, or at least in a lot of the minds of the clients that I talk to, it's a very harsh graph mentally when you're thinking of the peak of the market in 2021, 2022. But hey, we're now in 2026, so let's just look at the last 3 years to give us a little bit of context. And I wanted to highlight that this shift has not been sudden. Okay, if we're looking at 2024, 2025, and 2026, the shift is not sudden. It's gradual, it's consistent, but it's not as harsh as that 2021, 2022 window. And it's obvious there's more supply, there's less absorption, there's more patience that's needed. Now that gives us context. And with that in mind, let's go a little more granular with April 2026 numbers. 142 homes sold in April 2026 in the city of Guelph, and that's down almost 6.5% from April 2025. And April 2024 saw 168 homes sell. Steady downward, we see it, it's steady. It's not a collapse, but it's not a recovery either. What's important to note is also how many listings were coming onto the market in this same time period. And it was significant. 399 new listings hit the Guelph market for April 2026. And that is up nearly 17% when you compare it to April 2025. I think there's a lot of pent-up sellers sitting on the sidelines that are just saying, hey, life must go on. Not to mention, there are probably people that overstretched when money was being printed, given out. I'm sorry, I may have harsh opinions here. However, I'm going to be honest, I'm seeing a lot more power of sales hit the market. Sellers are trying, bank repossessions are happening, they're hitting the market. Life has to go on. And when people are sitting on the sidelines, it is showing that they're slowly tiptoeing back into the market, and that's evident in the amount of listings that hit the market for April. And here's the thing, buyers are not matching that energy of sellers coming in, okay? They're still a little more cautious. There's a lot more choice. There's a lot more time. So everything takes a little bit longer, and that's also that cyclical thing that happens. Okay, seller enters the market, doesn't really fit buyer demand in that segment, okay? And then it ends up expiring, and so that loop continues. Price reductions, loop continues. If it's not a product that can easily be absorbed in today's market. And then there's this number, okay, 43 expired listings for the month of April 2026 in Guelph alone. That is up 48% from this time last year. And that is a very clear signal. Okay, sellers came to the market at a certain expectation. The market did not meet them there. And it's not just the price, sometimes it's presentation, and it is segment specific. And when I say segment, just for clarity, I'm talking single family detached versus condo versus townhome versus freehold versus condo, right? Those are segments of the market. And I hope that stat is something sellers are really paying attention to specifically, is the amount of expired listings. If you are a seller and you're looking to offload your property in this market because, hey, people still continue to trade in real estate regardless of the market. Life must go on. I want you to pay attention to that and really assess how important it is for you to get on with your life and how important it is for you to offload your property. And that intersection is going to tell you what price you need to hit the market with. Days on market, homes are sitting for an average of 39 days on market before selling. And that is up 33% when compared to 2025. And that is yet another stat. I know a lot of these can feel very buyer friendly, but if you're a seller, I do want you to know that pay attention to days on market. A, that adjusts your expectations of how soon your home will move, but also B, it's going to give you context for what the market is ready to absorb and what you need to do pre-listing before you even hit the market to make sure you have a successful chance. We don't list just for the sake of it. We list to move. And you don't want to fall into that psychological trap that happens when buyers see a property that's been sitting for more than the average days on market. It ends up causing a little bit of stigma, regardless of whether there's any issues with your property. Probably not, but it is what it is. That's human nature, that's human behavior, and that's the psychological trap that a lot of homes fall into. So if you're serious about selling, get serious about your prep and pricing. And quite obviously, this means for buyers, you have time. You have time to make thoughtful decisions. You have time to really do your research, come back for a visit, include conditions, have a well thought out offer. All of that is true for you, do not get stuck in any kind of trap where you're unable to make a decision. Okay, if we're only looking at buyers and sellers, this stat is going to tell you that. And I think quite obviously by now in this video, we know where we're going. The sales to new listings ratio for April 2026 is sitting at almost 36%. For context, anything above 60% is usually a seller's market. Anything between that 40 to 60%, you're sitting at balanced market territory. And here we are at 35 or 36%, which is buyer's market territory. And if we just peek at the last couple of years, was sitting at 57% in 2024 and 43% in 2025. And now in 2026, we're sitting even more in buyer's market territory at almost 36%. That is giving you a clear signal of where the market is headed. Buyers have leverage right now. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I have recorded a couple videos on that. So please go have a look. See, the market has shifted. The psychology has not caught up yet. And you may come here for a data-driven update. However, the psychological gap in the market is real. It's a conversation that I'm actively having with clients because there's one thing the market says, there's another thing that they're going to do, like action and market. They need to align. And for those that are ready, take advantage of this gap. Okay, of people sitting on the sidelines, unable to make that decision. That's where buyers are going to come in with their affordability, with their pre-approvals, with their neighborhood research, with everything in place for them to make thoughtful, informed decisions and win. The sales to listings ratio is sitting at a healthy 97% or just over 97%. So that tells you that every offer that you're putting as a buyer, there's maybe a 3%, leeway in there, which is good. Essentially meaning homes are on a discount by 3%. Now here's something that I do want to highlight, and I kind of alluded to that in the beginning of the video, is Guelph is running, it's the tale of two markets right now. And it's been slowly priming for that throughout this year. And let me show you, let me just tell you about it a little bit deeper now. The freehold market versus the condominium market. So even the freehold detached, maybe the odd semi-detached, the bungalow, all of our freeholds are operating in a completely different way than our condominium and townhome market. The average price in our freehold market is sitting at $849,000, so $850,000, and that's been holding relatively steady. The condo market, the average sale price is sitting at $535,000, and that's down 13%. The freehold market, for good reason, is definitely more stable, while the condo market needs a little bit of CPR. Sellers are definitely feeling the pressure in that market and kind of a little bit of helplessness, if I'm honest. It's tough. If you are a first-time home buyer, please listen up, and you have been priced out of the freehold market because, let's be honest, the entry point for a lot of freehold is $850,000, and that is not affordable. Okay, if you have an opportunity, you have a real opportunity to get into home ownership and get into the condominium market. And if you are a condo seller, you know that your price and presentation matter. And if you've already done those things and you've been patient, then it's really taking stock of what's moving around you, because 44 units did sell in the month of April in our condo market here in Guelph. So what motivated those 44 units to sell? Right? It really requires you to put your investigative lens on. And if you're just about to hit the market, getting it right on day one with pricing and presentation is everything. Do not wait. Do not test the market for a week at a higher price and then come back. Please just don't do it. Okay, now here's my opinion. All right, not that you asked for it, but what good would I be if I didn't have one? And Guelph is not a free fall. We have our university here. We have employment, lifestyle. I'm going to be honest, the open houses that I hosted in the month of April, I asked Toronto buyers who would come through the open house, they said, what is it that you love about Guelph? Because I'm going to be like, a lot of Torontonians, proper Toronto people, they love exploring Guelph. So I'm like, what is it that you love about Guelph? I know a little bit of it, but is it really the trees? Can the trees really call so many people in? And a lot of it is because we have our own economy here with the university, with the bigger employers, with a little more stability, with prices being quote unquote more affordable, and the lifestyle element, the fact that there's micro markets, right? Guelph is pretty large for a city, and we have several micro markets in neighborhoods, and within each neighborhood, comes the segments, whether it's condos, freeholds, right? Like there's choice, there's variety, and there's different vibes. And if you're a family versus if you're a working professional, if you're a nature enthusiast, if you're an arts and small business owner, like there's a lot of that happening in Guelph. And so at least that's the feedback that I got from a lot of Torontonians as to why they would love to settle in Guelph. And the number one thing being affordability, no doubt. Now, what is the median price in Guelph? The number that keeps us coming back is the median price in Guelph, sitting at $735,000, and that's the median. And that's down 5% from April 2025. The average sale price for the city of Guelph sitting at $747,000, and that's down just over 5%. So year to date, if you're tracking it, that number was at 790,000 in 2024, and now in 2026, it's sitting at 741. It's not a catastrophe, like that's not a huge shift, but it is meaningful. And these small meaningful shifts have a huge impact on buyer purchasing power. I hope you enjoyed a little bit more context in this video. If there are any city specific or city neighborhoods you're curious about, I would be delighted to share that content with you. Please let me know.